Hey, hi, and howdy to all of my sweet friends. Welcome back and welcome. If you are new, my name is Courtney. I do food and kitchen content. I am a stay-at-home homeschooling mom. I buy the groceries, fill my grocery hauls, fill my dinners, things like that. Sometimes I do lunches, meal prep, and I'm open to new video ideas if anybody has anything they want to see or any suggestions. So just drop me a comment down below. All right, so this week, I think I mentioned it, my grocery haul, I think it was, but I took my youngest two kids out of town because we had a break from our co-op and from school. So I am starting off by prepping a meal for my husband and my oldest to eat while we're gone, and it's Mexican cornbread, one of their favorites. I just showed you I've got some ground beef cooking on the stove. I haven't done anything to it other than throw it in the skillet and kind of crumble it up. So while it's doing its thing, we're going to make some cornbread. Of course, you can always make this from scratch, but I like to take a little shortcut and just get the mix from the store just because it's so quick and so simple. And cornbread mix is not expensive, so this is not like something that cost me a whole ton of extra money. These packets were like 45 cents each, I believe, and I'm doing two of them. And other than that, you'd still have to have milk and eggs if you made it from scratch. So I'm pretty good with spending that extra 90 cents to buy the stuff to make this with a packet. So I just mix this according to the package directions. I don't do anything fancy yet, but we're going to dress it up just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and drain a can of corn and dump almost all of it in. I saved a few bites just because my youngest loves corn, but you can throw the whole thing in there and that's fine. And then of course a can of diced green chilies. Oh, I love them. They are so delicious. You could always substitute fresh jalapenos or any kind of pepper you want is fine, or leave it out. If you don't like that, that's great too. It just brings a lot of extra like Southwest delicious flavor to it. Usually these green chilies are pretty mild and they're not hot. It's just a flavor thing. But that's it for the cornbread. It's ready to go. Let's check in on our ground beef. I throw a little salt in there and then I put in some picante sauce. This is about a pound of ground beef, so I'm going to do about 3/4 of a cup of picante sauce, and that's all you need. There's so much flavor in that picante that you don't need to add anything else. It gives the meat an amazing taste, and also it's super cheap. Like I get a big jar of that from Walmart for less than $2, so it goes pretty far, and I do use it for cooking very often. Overall, this is actually a pretty budget-friendly meal. You could make it with shredded chicken if you wanted to, or you could make it with ground turkey. I always do it with ground beef. I do have a casserole dish there that I greased. I just sprayed it with some nonstick spray. Put my beef on the bottom and I'm pouring my cornbread mix on the top. If you wanted to add cheese, you could either add it between the meat and the cornbread or on top of the cornbread. Totally up to you. But that's it. It's so simple. You just bake this until it's done. I do it according to the package instructions for my cornbread. So just follow your recipe if you're making it from scratch, or follow the package if you're doing what I did. And I will list my full recipe down below. This is just my personal recipe. My mom actually taught me how to make this, but I do it a little bit differently than her. So I will just list how I do it down below so you guys can make it at home. It's so delicious, so easy, and so budget friendly. Plus, it goes a long way. That's a hearty meal. And it's also really great with a can of ranch style beans, and my husband likes to pour them over the top. So good. All right, meal number 2, Longhorn parmesan crusted chicken. So whenever we go to Longhorn Steakhouse, this is what I typically get, unless they have lamb chops. Those lamb chops are my favorite, but they're seasonal, so I don't get them very often. It's typically this, and it is so good. I've tried another recipe before, but it just wasn't what I was looking for. But this one was pretty darn close. So if this is one of your favorites, or if you're looking to try it, give this recipe a shot. I will link it below. So we're going to marinate our chicken. I've got some oil. I'm using avocado oil, but the recipe calls for olive. I think avocado is a great sub, and it's a little bit cheaper currently. I've got lemon juice, Worcestershire sauce, some confit garlic. You could use fresh or garlic powder. Anytime I use my confit garlic, you guys can always sub fresh or garlic powder for it. Either way works just fine. Just work with what you have. And then ranch dressing. I'm using my homemade because I don't want it to go bad. I'm not going to be here to eat it, and we're out of fresh veggies, so I'm just going to use it for this recipe to make sure that it's not just hanging out in my fridge getting yucky. So I let this marinate for about 6 hours, and then it's time to get cooking. We're going to make this for dinner, so I'm just going to put the chicken in a skillet here. I did put a little bit of oil in there to try to prevent too much sticking or burning or anything. And we're going to cook this till it develops some beautiful color. I think I did mine for about 12 to 15 minutes total. I flipped it a couple of times so it could get that beautiful brown crispiness, but also cook pretty much all the way through. We are going to bake this, but I did want to try to get it pretty much done here in the skillet. And like I said, 12 to 15 minutes flipping it and get that beautiful, beautiful color, because color is flavor, y'all. It's a cheap, almost free way to impart flavor into anything you cook. All right, so we've got 2 toppings for this. So I've got some melted butter, and then I'm going to mix in some garlic. Again, whatever kind of garlic you have on hand, whatever you want to use is fine. And then we're going to mix in some panko because it's super crunchy. Now, panko by itself is super bland. I mean, just blah, so bland. But I use salted butter, and I've got my garlic in here, and it just tastes amazing when it toasts on top of this chicken. I did forget to film the cheese mixture. You can see on my cutting board there I have shredded parmesan and some chopped up provolone. And then, of course, the last of my ranch dressing is in that little bowl next to it. And we're just going to combine all of that together. And those are our 2 toppings to top this chicken. So much flavor going on here. And this is so good. I think if you really wanted to, you could substitute like mozzarella or something in there. And if you really want to, you can use the green shaker tub of Parmesan. I prefer the fresh stuff, but I do use the green shaker tub sometimes. I mean, it has its place in my kitchen for sure. All right, so now that my chicken is caramelized and delicious, oh, that chicken had so much beautiful flavor even by itself. We're going to go ahead and top it. So I start off with the cheese mixture, and you will notice that I only top 3 of these. Anybody who's new here doesn't know, but the rest of y'all do. My oldest does not like cheese. So I left cheese off of his, which is no big deal. Just saves a little money at the end of the day for me. Cheese can be kind of expensive, y'all. So this just kind of cut back on the cost, not a big deal. This is a pretty thick mixture. It might just be because my homemade ranch is a little bit thicker than the stuff in the bottle. I don't know, but it held on really, really well, so I was pleased. And then we're going to top that cheese mixture with our panko mixture, give it that cheesy, ooey, gooey deliciousness, and then a lot of salty crispiness on top. Again, this dish was incredible. It was so close to the restaurant. So again, if you guys are looking for a really good dupe for it, or if you've never tried it and you want to try this dish without going to Longhorn and spending an arm and a leg, this is a great, great recipe to try. And I will link it down below. I found it on Pinterest. Super good, super delicious. These just go back in the oven and bake for a little while. So again, if your chicken wasn't fully cooked on the stovetop, you could finish it in the oven. I started with mashed potatoes and roasted broccoli, trying to get my fresh veggies out of the kitchen before I go to town so that they don't go to waste. All right, the last meal is my meal. This was one of my favorites, especially when I was like a teenager and in my early 20s. Copycat Taco Bell 7-layer burritos. They do not serve these anymore, which just makes me sad, and it also makes me feel old. Why don't you guys serve that anymore? Put it back on the menu. It's cheap. It's easy. But we can make it at home. It's not hard. We're going to start off by making the rice, and I am using a cheater method here. So I've got a packet of chicken rice. You could do Knorr. You could use the store brand like I did. You could use Rice-A-Roni. Whatever you want is fine. I cook it according to the package directions, but I go about a 1/4 cup shy when it comes to the water, and I add in a 1/2 cup of picante sauce. Again, I'm using that stuff. Super cheap. You could use regular hot sauce, but I find when I'm cooking, the picante just really packs way more flavor for the cost. And I just dump the rice in and I let it cook just according to the package. Nothing fancy, but it really takes it up to a whole new level with the picante sauce. A lot of flavor. You get some onions and some diced up tomatoes and some diced up peppers in there. It's really, really good. Time to assemble our burritos. This could not be easier, y'all. And this is so budget friendly. There's no meat in this. You can add meat if you want to. Shredded chicken, ground beef, pulled pork, whatever you want. But the original did not have meat in it, and that is not how I'm going to make it. I don't want meat in mine. When I was young, I never really ate meat, hardly at all. I just didn't care for it. And even now, a lot of times I'll cook it, but I don't eat it. It's not my favorite. So I am sticking to the traditional burrito that I grew up with. I've got some refried beans on there, some sour cream, and some guacamole. I did not make that. I wanted to make guacamole, but when I pulled out my avocados, they were so sad. So on the way home from martial arts, I just drove through the Rosa's drive-thru and grabbed a big thing of guacamole. And while I was there, of course, some chips and queso because it's so delicious. But their guacamole is good. It has tomatoes, onions, and peppers and stuff in it. You could just use smashed avocado with salt, pepper, and garlic, and that's fine too. I also put our rice on, some lettuce, some tomato, and some shredded cheese. Any of these ingredients, of course, you can alter or leave off, whatever you want to do. But this is how the original was made, and then you roll it up. It is a very hearty burrito for something that doesn't have any meat in it, and it is so full of fresh flavor because that guacamole really shines through, and I love it. Again, just served it with chips and queso because I got them at the drive-thru and I wanted to eat them. But that does it for this week. I hope you guys will try these recipes. I will list or link all of them down below for you. Hope you're having a fantastic week, and I should be back on Thursday with a third video this week. I hope. I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm working on it. And then, of course, my grocery haul on Tuesday, and I'll see you on Saturday for my next What's for Dinner. Y'all have a great one. I'll see you soon. Bye.